One, two, 1, 2. This is the test. All right. Hey, Morgan, good morning. We are trying something new here. All right, it's 9:01. We got 2 people here who joined. Good morning, whoever just joined. I'm going to give it just a minute. Let me turn down this music. I'll turn it off. So I'm trying something new this morning. I usually do these Autism First podcasts in the morning before work. It's usually because, something bugged me in my sleep. I take a shower. I get some clear thoughts on it. I don't go into this with a script. I have a rough idea of the subject I want to talk about, and I press record on the mixer board. And the next thing you know, words just start spilling out. There's no script. There's no preparation. This is just authenticity. So, what are we going to talk about this morning? Well, before I get started, the reason why this is possible, first of all, I've got patrons. We've got no ads on this show. So this is a listener-supported show. I've got a good base of folks on Patreon who are very generously helping to keep the hosting costs going and everything so that we don't have to worry about ads. And this can just be a series of podcasts by us and for us. I've got a lot of old photography equipment laying around. It's out of focus, but on my shelf back there, it's not just for good looks. There's in front of the books, I've got a lot of photography gear. Excuse me. And I started dabbling with video. A lot of this stuff can do video. And right here in front of my monitor is an old Sony A7 camera. And I've got on it my father's old Minolta manual focus lens. So like if I get closer, it's not autofocusing at all. I have to just reach out right in front of me and turn the focus knob until it looks good. It's not going to look good because it's me, but this is as good as it's going to get. So right now I've got one old camera with one really old lens sitting on my desk in front of me. I've actually got a little mixer board for video in front of me, and theoretically I could cut between different cameras. Right now I've only got the one camera hooked up. If I can figure out how to get my Fujifilm cameras hooked up with continuous power, that's the gotcha, continuous power. If I can get that working, or even if I can get some decent battery life out of it, I might be able to get like a couple different angles so you're not always like looking up at me while I'm looking off into the monitor. So with all of that capability coming together, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to start recording podcasts on YouTube live and let you see how the sausage is made? So I haven't started the podcast yet. I'm just talking to the folks watching the live stream, which is 2 of you right now, or the video that comes from YouTube after the live stream is concluded. Like I could save this video and keep it published. So anybody who's interested in catching the podcast in a video format, you can see this as well. So normally I don't really have a script. I have to clear my throat a lot. I eat a lot of hot sauce, and it's not great for my voice. Let me mute a second. And you get a little something to drink. Some ice water. If my tea is cool enough yet, I'll have a little bit of tea. It's got honey in it. That's good for the throat. All right. So Autism First Language is usually a few minutes long, unless I really get a rant in me, and then it can go for quite some time. I do have to work today, so I don't expect the rant's going to go on a long time. Today's subject is going to be empathy, sympathy, compassion, and really how that relates to autism in the workplace. All right, here we go. Ugh. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, wherever you are and whenever you happen to be listening to this. This is Autism First Language, a podcast about autism, maybe about my autistic experience. I'm your host, Magnus Hedemark, and I'm autistic. I've got another podcast, Neuroverse, which is more focused on the guests that I bring in. Some of them are autistic, some of them are neurodivergent in other ways. This podcast is, well, it's just me and a microphone. We're trying something new today. So I've got more stuff to pay attention to. Usually it's just me and the microphone and the audio mixer board in front of me. Excuse me. Today we're also doing YouTube live video. And this is something I've been wanting to experiment with. We're trying it out right now. So I've also got a video mixer board in front of me and a camera right in front of me. And I've got a huge live audience of 2 people that are watching as I do this. You'll be able to go to YouTube and watch this video if you want. I have a Groktopus channel on YouTube, and unfortunately it takes some time for YouTube to approve it for live streaming. So I'm doing this through one of my other YouTube channels. It's not ideal, but I didn't want any excuses. I just wanted to get out there and do it. So it's been a little while since you've heard from me. It's been a couple weeks since we did the Haley Moss episode of Neuroverse. And I've been in a little bit of a funk. Depression is, I wouldn't say constant companion, but depression is always there waiting in the wings. And I think this year, 2020 in particular, has been a really good year for depression for a lot of people. Depression doesn't necessarily have a cause, but it can come up whenever you least expect it. And there can be like little triggers that open the door for it. For me, I think a lot of it is the disruption to my daily life routine. I always worked from home. That's not really a big deal. But I've also always really enjoyed getting out into the world for a lunch, for coffee, just going grocery shopping. And a few times a year, either getting in my car or getting on a plane and going somewhere, trying something new, seeing the sunrise over a different place than I'm used to. Those things have helped to keep me in good spirits in the past. And like a lot of people, like most people, I don't really have that now. And I'm feeling it. So this episode is not about depression. I just wanted to let you know where I've been. I haven't forgotten you. I haven't forgotten the podcast. I just wanted a little time to get through my stuff. Today, I want to talk about empathy, sympathy, compassion. They're the same thing, right? No, they're not. But they often get conflated. And that conflation can be really problematic for autistic people in the workplace. Moreover, there is, I think, a general inability of a lot of neurotypical people to see autistic empathy. For a long time, there was a real cliche that autistic people aren't empathetic. And the science has come out to show like it's bullshit. Yeah, so we can say bullshit here. I'm explicit flagging this podcast. So we're all hopefully grown-ups here. So I can just speak frankly. Need some tea. So where this can come to a head very often is at work. At work, in performance reviews and one-on-ones with your boss, I've been in the workforce for over 25 years, and it's boss after boss after boss coming at me about, you need to show more empathy, you need to show more compassion, you need to show more sympathy. And they're all different things, but what do they mean? All right, they actually mean different but related things. So I pulled up a dictionary. I know what they mean, but I want to pull them up on a dictionary. And if you go to dictionary.com or thefreedictionary.com and you look up empathy, it describes what empathy is. And then in bold letters, it says, not to be confused with. Not to be confused with compassion or sympathy. So empathy is the ability to imagine oneself in the condition of another, a vicarious participation in others' emotions. For example, the widow expressed empathy for the woman who had just lost her husband. So you can identify with somebody else's feelings. You can imagine yourself having the same feelings they're having because maybe you've had a similar experience. But it's not to be confused with compassion or sympathy. I'm going to skip ahead to sympathy. Sympathy is a general kinship with another's feelings, no matter what kind. So you might not understand why somebody's having the feelings that they're having, but it pains you that they're feeling pain, or it gives you joy that they're feeling joy. So it usually goes with the more negative feelings, I think. The point being, sympathy's less about understanding the feelings and more about feeling the kinship with somebody just for having those feelings. Compassion. Compassion builds on sympathy. So compassion is, by the dictionary here, a deep sympathy for the sorrows of others with an urge to alleviate their pain. So an example they give, the nurse showed great compassion for injured children. So it goes beyond empathy. It goes beyond sympathy. Compassion is recognizing the feelings in others, the hard feelings in others, and feeling so strongly about it that you want to be a part of getting them through that to the other side, resolving those bad feelings. So I guess at work, where this can really become tough, if I have a conflict with somebody at work and I first want to ask questions like, well, what's your motivation? Why are you trying to do this thing? That's obviously giving like me some kind of pain, but I want to assume positive intent. I want to assume that you're doing something for the right reasons. So help me to understand it. And in most cases, I can reach that point of empathy where I can understand now why somebody feels the way they feel and why they want to do the things that they want to do. And I can help them to reach a resolution because I'm compassionate. I can help them to reach a resolution that satisfies their needs, alleviates their anxiety about this deadline looming over their heads. Most of the time, I do that without issue. Nobody ever has to hear about it. Every now and then, there's the Pareto principle, right? Where 10% of something represents 90% of the effort or the pain. In this case, it's less than that. It's a very small population of people who go into conflicts motivated not by a shared mission, not by slightly misaligned business goals, but by the desire for personal gain. And this can be really hard to navigate, especially for an autistic person. So if you're not autistic, if you're listening to this because you want to understand the autistic experience, autistic people are like candy for certain types of abusive personality types, for sociopaths, for narcissists, the kind of people who want to use other people for their own personal gain without regard for the feelings or the outcomes of the people they're using, the parasites of this world. The parasites of this world are drawn to autistic personalities because a lot of us want people to be in a better place. We feel so intensely what others are feeling. And we've got the compassion that when we see somebody's hurting, a lot of us really want to figure out how do we get you to the other side of this. Those people exist in business, the parasites of the world. They exist in the business world. They exist in places of employment. And very often they do really well. If you look at some of the top well-known celebrity CEOs, narcissists, sociopaths, they're everywhere. There's something about their personality, what they want to do for themselves, and the way they're gratified by the attention on themselves. They want to succeed. And they're not necessarily doing it for the company. They're not necessarily doing it for the people that work for them. They're doing it for themselves. But the shareholders don't care because they're making a lot of money. But if you look further down the stack, I mean, not all sociopaths, not all narcissists reach those pinnacles of achievement. They're peppered throughout. Any big company, they're going to tend to do well. In smaller companies, my experience has been they tend to not last in a small company because nobody will put up with their bullshit for long. But in a big company, they can hide, they can thrive, they can do all right. And when they run into vulnerable people that who have high levels of empathy, high levels of compassion, they want to use these people to get ahead or to just feel better about themselves. So for somebody like me, I work in a big company. I work in a huge company. I've been pretty successful. And a lot of that success, I think, is because of empathy and compassion. When I hear what others are trying to solve, I look for the shared victory. I look for what's known as the Nash equilibrium. I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole. What was the name of that movie? There was a movie about Dr. Nash. Beautiful Mind. A Beautiful Mind. All right. So in A Beautiful Mind, Dr. Nash, this is a true story. So Dr. Nash came up with this theory, game theory, and part of it, game theory is huge, but a part of it describes that if a bunch of people go into a situation together and they all want an outcome where they are victorious, the best way to approach it is if everybody goes into it agreeing that everybody should win. Rather than negotiating for individual gain, you negotiate for everybody to win. And then everybody does win. Everybody can win. So this is something I take to heart. This is something that I try to use at work all the time. And most of the time when I'm dealing with other people who are, not the parasites of the world, it goes well for me, and it goes well for them. And because of that, I've moved up. Like, since I really started investing in my career 5 years ago, it's gone really well. I've moved up a lot, but I'm told, I'm probably not going to move up much more if I don't build empathy. What does that mean? So I've been talking to a lot of mentors. I've been talking to other folks who have been successful or more successful than myself. And I've gone through last weekend. This is how I spent my weekend. I went through kind of an inventory. What's my purpose in life? The really philosophical stuff. What's my purpose in life? What's this world going to look like after I'm done with it? If I'm successful in the things I want to get done. Not what am I going to look like, but what is my impact on the world going to be? And I also did something cool. I highly recommend this. This was really good. You can write down what you think your values are, but that's based on what you think is important to you, and maybe the words you say, but is it related to the things you do? Not always. So I put it out there for people who have worked with me, who have known me for a while. You tell me, based on my actions, based on the things I've done, what do you think is important to me? And it was kind of a neat experiment. Like, a lot of the things that came back are indeed things that are important to me. And some things are important to me, but I never would have put as much emphasis on them. But my deeds show that I'm reflecting those values. Curiously, what didn't show up was compassion, empathy. This blew my mind because it's so much of what drives me, and yet it's not seen. So either I've got to do more to show those values in a way that most people can recognize them, or I've got to do a better job of helping people to understand what autistic empathy looks like. Because I think holistic people, not autistic people, all right? Holistic is not autistic. So holistic people often cannot recognize empathy in autistic people, the same way that autistic people may struggle to see things in holistic people. And it's not because we're broken or because they're broken, but we are sufficiently different that we have a hard time recognizing things in one another. So I need to do a better job with that. I also, I'm thinking a lot about my career path. I've been moving up, but have I been moving towards the things that are important to me? Have I been moving towards the things that are going to let me put a dent in this world? The kind of dent that I want to put in the world. So I really doubled down this year. I'm working on a neurodiversity program for my employer. I don't know if it's going to take off. I don't know if it's even going to be approved. I don't know if my name's even going to be on it. Like, after I show it off, some bigger executive might come and just take it from me and take all the credit. I'm already seeing signs that might happen. It's definitely not perfect, but if this thing takes off, it'll be the first major neurodiversity program that I'm aware of that had autistic leaders at the table helping to design it. It's basically me and one other autistic person at my company working in partnership with another company that does these things all day long, every day. But we're putting our twist on it. We're changing it around and making it for us and about us. I'm doing a lot of stuff at work around neurodiversity now. I never asked anybody if I could or if I should. This is just so important to me. I'm doing it. I've got a podcast at work. It's an internal podcast at work. about autism right now and about neurodiversity more broadly later. I'm speaking at work in front of like 500 people later this week about neurodiversity at work. So I guess that's coming back to say, after going through this exercise, after trying to figure out like who I am, why I'm here, what I want to do with my life, my career, I really want to double down on this neurodiversity thing. I've hit some measure of success, and I want so badly for others who have struggled to taste some of that success. And I don't necessarily mean like everybody's got to move up into a management role or anything. I want the job market to be more accessible for neurodivergent people, autistic people especially, but more broadly, neurodivergent people, and more broadly, the intersectionality with all the other underrepresented groups. And I really want for autistic people especially to be able to live fuller, more independent lives. You know, maybe if you have somebody offering care, maybe your need for them becomes a little less. If you have somebody financially supporting you, maybe that need becomes a little less. So that's super important to me. So I'm putting a lot of thought right now into what are my next career moves? You know, is there some way I can make that happen inside of the company I'm at now? It's a huge company. So, you know, maybe, and nobody's telling me not, well, I shouldn't say nobody. The people who matter and the people who can affect change on the direction of my career are not telling me to stop or to slow down or to change direction. So I'm going to keep at it. There are some, I don't want to throw anybody in the mud, but there are some who want this to be about them, and they're trying to take this away, but it's not happening. And on my side, I got a little flack last week because there's a slide deck that we're preparing to share with executive leadership, and my name wasn't even on it. Like, I'm helping to build this thing, and I didn't find a place for my own name on this presentation because I don't want this to be about me. I want this to be about the people we're serving. So, empathy, compassion. Yeah. I've got it. I'm using it. It's part of everything I'm doing. It's just it doesn't look the way holistic people want it to look. So if empathy, if compassion, if that's the only thing that's holding me back from really doing great things with my career, then there's nothing holding me back, I guess, right? I should be doing all the things that I want to be doing, and wherever those opportunities happen to be. So stay tuned. Who knows? I'm going to follow this rabbit hole wherever it goes. In the meantime, you're probably wondering, when's the next Neuroverse episode? Damned if I know. I really went into this thinking, Neuroverse, yes, I'm changing directions. We're no longer talking about my career. We're no longer talking about empathy and sympathy and compassion. We could go back there. But a lot of you probably want to know what's going on with the Neuroverse podcast. I have screwed up. I do screw up, but I am not a screw up. My intention was Neuroverse would come out every week, every Wednesday morning, and that I would just keep recording and it would happen on a clockwork schedule. My executive functioning sucks. I'm really bad at this. For Neuroverse to do well, I have to feel pretty good. I have to feel good enough about myself that I can get on a mic with another person and be positive and be supportive and really just help set the stage for them to look and sound, well, really sound. I want to set the stage for them to sound their best and to help tell their story. If I'm dealing with depression, I'm not going to be in a good place to do that. If I'm going down some kind of a rabbit hole of learning, I'm going to be too distracted. I'm going to be on the microphone I should be engaged in a conversation, but my brain is on something else. My brain is thinking about like, well, how do I set up video for my podcast so that my listeners can get, can look at my ugly face while I'm talking. So Neuroverse is coming. I don't know who's next. I've got a lot of people that are raising their hand saying, I'll do it. And I want to talk to them. But at the same time, I want to keep things mixed up. If every one of my guests is autistic, then it's not really a neurodiversity podcast. It's not a neurodiverse set of guests. It's an autistic monoculture. And I really don't want Neuroverse to become an autistic monoculture. I'm okay with doing that with this podcast, with Autism First Language. Oh, hell yeah. It's all about us. It's all about autism. But it's all about autism just from my perspective and my lived experience. It's not, this podcast is not telling other people's stories. Neuroverse is telling other people's stories. So, that is to say, I want to record another Neuroverse podcast. I want to get it out there. We covered autistic experiences, I think, in the last 1 or 2 episodes. I'd like to mix it up. Where my dyslexia at? Well, we had some ADHD. Oh man, that's another thing I could get into on this podcast, ADHD. I've been thinking for a while, there's a good chance I'm not just autistic, but that I might also be ADHD. And that revelation is coming from my work on the Neuroverse podcast. I really don't know if I'm going to pursue a diagnosis, but that would make so much more sense. My life experience would make so much more sense if there was an intersection there between autism and ADHD. Oh, it would make so much sense. For those of you watching the live stream or watching on YouTube, there's a big bookcase behind me. There's another one just out of view of the camera. There's books everywhere. And I love reading, but the way I read is not linear. I'll pick up a book, I'll read a chapter of one book, and then I'll jump to another book and read a chapter of that. And I might have 4, 5, 6 books going at once, bouncing between them. The way I read books has always been, I think, the way people read Wikipedia. You get part way down an article on Wikipedia and then click a link and go read something else. That's how I learn. And I don't know if that's ADHD, but I'm starting to feel like, well, I have a growing suspicion that this is part of who I am. So, wow. You never know where this podcast is going to go. Autism First Language, I always start with an idea, and we go all over the place. So, yeah, is that ADHD? You let me know. Wes Wade, if you're listening, I know you're the expert in this, so you tell me. You tell me, brother. All right. I've talked enough. I got to get some work done. I actually have to go to work and show some empathy and show some compassion. So, and I got to figure out what do I want to be when I grow up? What do I want to do with my life? I'm getting a better idea of what that is. And I don't know if I'm on that track right now. Sorry. I almost dipped my microphone in my tea, so I should put my tea down. Hi, Morgan. Morgan says, thanks, Magnus. Happy to see a notification that you were live on my phone this morning. Nice way to start my day. Morgan, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing some time with me. Thank you for sharing your coffee or tea with me this morning. So raising my cool owl mug to you. And I don't know. So you tell me, should I keep doing this? Should I do these podcasts live? Do you want to see this on video? Let me know. You can let me know on Patreon, on YouTube, on Twitter. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's on my old Terra Magnus channel that I never really did much with. Going forward, I have a Groktopus channel that I'm setting up. All my podcast stuff will be on there. This one video by itself will be on the old Terra Magnus channel. I don't know if I can fix that in any way. Mihai, hey, good morning. Well, good. It's maybe afternoon for you. Good afternoon, Mihai. So now I have to I have to behave myself. Mihai's on the live stream, and he's my newest employee. I hired, well, contractor. I hired Mihai. He's starting soon, and he's going to be my first hire in Ireland. I'm building a team in Ireland, and I'm so excited. And I'm so excited for coronavirus to be over so I can go to Ireland and I can meet my new team face to face in real life, and maybe revisit the Guinness situation in Ireland. I've been to Ireland once, and the Guinness in Ireland, fact, is better than the Guinness in the United States. They give us watered down Guinness or weak Guinness. It's like Guinness Light, what we get in the United States. But other countries, especially Ireland, of course Ireland, they get the real thing. They get real Guinness. So I'm going to fly across the ocean just so I can have a beer with you. I think I've gone on enough. I'm going to cut this out, and I'm going to let you get on with your day. So thanks, everybody. If you're autistic, stay autistic. You are good just the way you are. I love you just the way you are. So don't change. Have a good one. And that's that. Episode is in the can. After work, I'll put some show notes around it. I'll get it published. Mihai. All right. Not a Guinness person. You would like to have tea. I love tea. I'm having some tea right now. This is I do loose leaf tea. And what I've got in my mug is a Paris blend from, I think it's called Harney and Sons. They're a U.S. distributor of loose leaf tea, and they've got different blends. I've been trying different ones out. I used to be into Earl Grey, and I tried this Paris blend. It's got, rather than having the citrusy notes like an Earl Grey, this has, I think, like black currant in it. So it's got a little bit of sourness, a little bit of like a muskiness, like you would get from a fruit, from a grape or a currant. And I put a little honey in it. So I really enjoy it. You have one with cats. So when you start, when you get on board and we start working together, Mihai, I look forward to seeing your cat mug. Who else is here? We got Morgan's here, Mihai's here, and then there's like a mystery third person that's still on. We had 4 watching the live stream, and only 2 of you poked your heads in. So should I keep doing this? Do you think the live stream was cool? What would you do differently? I also have no idea what kind of delay you're getting. Oh, so Mihai, since you're here, the still image I have, this should have been my logo, my Groktopus logo. This is a photograph I took in Ireland. I came to find later this piece of art, this sculpture is called the Gaelic Chieftain. And I was just going down one of the M roads, going from one place to another, and I saw this guy up on a horse from a great distance, and had to pull over and check it out. So glad I did. It's really, really beautiful. It was a nice walk around. I can't remember off the top of my head where I found it, but if you search on the Gaelic Chieftain, It should come up pretty easily. So yeah, I love Ireland, and road tripping across Ireland was maybe the best way to see it. I really just love wandering around without an itinerary. Just give me a car, and yes, unlike most Americans, I can drive a standard transmission. So I just rented a car and drove across Ireland for a week and had a blast. I would totally do that again. So, all right. It's actually late here. It's like 9:41 a.m. here. I'm late for work. Don't tell the boss. All right. I'm going to get to work. You have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you. Bye bye.